Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Village of Westmont Planning and Zoning Commission for Wednesday, May 9th, 2018, and it is 7 o'clock on the button. Let the record show. I have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Carmichael. Here. Commissioner Sharp.
Here.
Commissioner Van Buren is here. Commissioner Thomas. Here. Commissioner Bartel.
Here.
Commissioner Lavoy.
Here.
And Chairman Phil.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Having a quorum, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before you sit down, and anyone else, our entire audience for that matter, anyone who's going to give testimony for or against, you need to be sworn in. So if you would raise your right hand and just acknowledge, do you swear that your testimony tonight will be truthful, so help your God? Thank you. And as you're sitting down, I ask everyone to silence any cell phones, pagers, or any other electronic devices. Thank you. I saw you may have been signing in already outside. Fantastic. Then everyone else who's here, please sign in before you approach the podium. Our first order of business tonight will be the approval of the minutes from the April 11th, 2018 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Bartel. Any comments or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Sharp.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Bartel.
Yes.
Commissioner Lavoy.
I have an abstention on that vote. I wasn't here.
Commissioner Carmichael.
Yes.
And Chairman Phil.
Yes. Minutes are passed and carried. Our next item is our open forum. Do we have anyone here in the audience who would like to speak on something not on the agenda tonight? This is your chance to talk about anything you want. All right. Seeing none, just a quick review since we have just one person and one item tonight. I'm not going to go through all of the public hearing procedures, but we'll be initiating your item in just a few seconds. You could come up and present at the podium. You've already signed in. After you're finished presenting, we'll hear from staff. We'll hear from the public. The commissioners will get a chance to weigh in, and then we'll discuss things, and we will have a vote with a motion towards the end of that. And then at that point, depending on the vote, I'll give you some instructions. Okay? All righty. We'll begin with new business, planning and zoning item 18-006, Camred LLC, regarding the property located at 433 Plaza Drive in Westmont for the following. A site and landscaping plan approval to allow for a parking lot expansion in the M Manufacturing District. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Sean McGovern. I'm with SpaceGo. We're the civil engineers for the project. The owner would like to make a parking lot addition to the 433 Plaza Drive building. They're going to store some vehicles along the building there with 16 perpendicular spots. It'll be connected between the existing lot and the 433 Plaza Drive and the drive aisle just to the south of the building there. The project's been designed to sheet flow the proposed lot from the east to the west to the detention pond, and the detention pond has been previously designed to account for any future improvements, which is this item here. So that's about it.
Great. All righty. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what you have before you is a site and landscaping approval request. There are no variances that are needed. There are no special uses. So this is a requirement of the zoning code for anything that's a non-commercial, or I'm sorry, a non-residential property. To do any exterior improvements, they have to ask for permission through planning and zoning and approval through village board. So in this case, we look at very specific things. We look at their landscaping. We look at the design of the parking lot. We look and make sure it meets the setbacks. The forester looked at any existing trees that might be there. They looked at the proposed trees and species. The landscaper looks at that as well. Our engineers looked at the detention. And if you remember, it was approximately September of last year with the BMW project. This is all kind of interrelated. They took what was a detention pond in this same area and combined it with the larger detention pond that's actually on BMW's lot. A little history on this building, it's actually not owned by BMW, it's owned by this Camred LLC, which retains ownership and has had ownership of the building for quite some time. Westmont Body Works, which was a long-time business in that building, has done body work for many years. It was recently taken over by AutoNation, which is the parent company for BMW, which also, I think, serves Audi and Mercedes as well. So basically, they're moving and centralizing their body work facilities into this. Camred, the owners, in probably 2000, somewhere around there, actually, let me look at my notes, 2011, actually had an approved expansion into this area, and they were going to underground all the detention. They were going to make the building bigger to accommodate the user and then underground all the detention. So what's changed is the detention's off-site now. It frees up the space for development. What in this case the priority is the extra parking. In terms of the comprehensive plan, what it lends itself to is that the comprehensive plan is very specific to these dealership areas to say anything we can do to remove the traffic off of the streets and create some interdependence on the interior networks of travel is an improvement to these properties. You do gain access to the front of the building, to the rear of the building, to Plaza Drive. It just gives more opportunity for the movement of cars to stay off the streets. So, as always, I'm available with any questions.
Great, thank you very much. All righty, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Seeing no one in the audience, we will begin with commissioners then, and I will move and start with Commissioner Lavoy.
Good evening. I don't have too many questions, but I do have a few, and I'm glad that Space goes here.
Yeah.
Because when I looked at the package, of course, it appears to be very minor, and it's really not a big deal. But the Alta survey that you submitted is dated 2003. And based on the Alta survey, and knowing that all the utilities in this, the rework of this part of the property included, utilities and included other things, the expansion of the pond, basically. But on the Alta survey, the division line, that I'll just point out to you, division line between the proposed parking lot and the pond has an easement on it. And I'd like to know if that easement has been vacated or not. And the reason why is it looks like it's in conflict with the proposed landscaping. So what I don't want to have you do is put landscaping in that area, and on each side of that line, there's a 5-foot easement for ComEd. And there's trees being proposed within that, 2 of the trees are being proposed within that. And I don't know, based on that whole redevelopment of the pond and expanding the pond, was that easement vacated, or were those utilities relocated?
So there was a platted easement that was recorded with the county. I don't know the exact dimensions off the top of my head, but I know there was X amount past, I believe it was 5 feet past the high water line of the design pond for drainage, and then an additional 10 feet for ComEd and any dry utilities to go into that area.
Okay, but was the existing easement, according to this document, vacated?
I don't know to my knowledge.
Do you know if there's any utilities in that easement?
How, I don't have it in front of me. How wide is that easement?
That easement is 5 feet each way of that property line that existed.
Well, I believe as part of the plat of vacation that was recorded for the overall BMW site.
So there was a plat of vacation?
Yes,
Okay, so that means there's no utilities in there?
correct. No longer any utilities in there.
Okay, and ComEd was party to that
Yeah,
vacation?
correct.
Okay. All right, well, that's good. And then the other thing is up around the building, again, off of the Alta survey, right along that building are a whole bunch of utilities. There's an existing electrical meters, to gas meters, a compressor. There's a hydrant on the side of the building. And I want to make sure that the proposed landscaping doesn't conflict with especially that hydrant.
Correct.
And you've got like a row hedge there. It's something that maybe we should leave an opening there for the fire department, so they don't have to, dig through shrubs to get to the hydrant. Looks like the hydrant is basically off the building. Doesn't look like we have water main in there, but it looks like that there's a hydrant there that shows up on that Alta, but doesn't show up on here.
Right.
And also, when you get out to that island on the the northwest corner of the building, there's a gas main that runs through that landscape island. If you have to shift plant material to do that, I would recommend it.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have any further questions, but, we should take and look at existing utilities and modify this proposed landscape plan so we don't conflict, especially with fire. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Carmichael, please.
Well, following that, I thought I was pretty familiar with everything and discovered that I wasn't quite as familiar as I thought I was, but no, I have no questions. It looks pretty clear and straightforward to me.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Buren.
Yeah, I looked at it compared to the plans here, and I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you. Commissioner Thomas.
I think any questions we had was from previous meetings were pretty much cleared up with, and anytime we can add parking off of that dead-end street, it will be a good thing, and it'll be helpful to everybody. People that find themselves on the street trying to turn around or whatever, or employees or customers, so I'm supported and wish you luck.
Thank you. Commissioner Sharp.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. I know our attorney is not here tonight, but Joe, you might be able to educate me a little bit. So since the property line is going through the detention area, does that mean that there's some kind of co-ownership of that drainage asset, basically, between the two?
I have to speak off my memory. When the detention ponds were proposed as combined, and then the detention pond actually expanded onto this property. And my memory may be fading. I think actually you brought that up at the time. You asked if there would be the appropriate easements that would be granted for this shared detention.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer to that. I know that the engineering division was tasked with that, and so I would have to assume that that was one of the requirements that they would have made to approve their plans for the detention pond itself.
Yeah, I would hope so. I'm sure they did. The other question I had is, could you confirm that because I saw some notes from the landscaper going back and forth about the species and location of the trees relative to the normal water line, that basically that the plan shows trees extremely close to the water's edge. Has that been rectified to the city's contentment?
It has, although what the applicant has done, the normal process is we look at this for 3 weeks, we issue then comments, we say, can you move forward with the original drawings with some promises that things will change? We revise those drawings. They actually did revise them, and I think although the landscaper issued a letter in her initial review, there is an email that she said, I've looked at it and everything's been accommodated. So she is happy with it, and I think what the biggest issue is that the species of the trees were acceptable to water, so that, if there was high water in there, that it wouldn't damage the type of tree. I think that the discussions were that it's not ideal that trees are in that high water line area, but both the engineer and the landscaper worked together to make sure it was acceptable to them.
Okay, well, that's good for us. That was
Thank
it.
you.
And I think it's a great project. It's a great example of increasing the access within sites in this auto mile area. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Bartel.
Just one question. The June 27th of 2015, the aerial photography looked at ADA compliant spaces. And they have been restriped, apparently, or going to be.
Yeah, our plan calls for those to be restriped to the original layout.
Of the 16 new parking spaces, are there more ADA spaces? there a
It's still
compliant
within the same
number?
threshold.
Okay. Okay, that's all I had, thanks.
Great,
I
thank
think it's a
you.
great project also, thank you.
Just a couple of questions. One, just a comment. Those trees have been planted, and they're virtually on the edge of the water. I was shocked to see those trees where they're at.
Yeah, so the landscaping in that area, the plan is per the original overall plan. He used the same species in this design to show where they are, and those were chosen because they thrive under under that environment.
Well, they're gonna have plenty of water. I mean, I would just have thought you would have moved them a couple of feet. They're just, I mean, literally, they are on the edge of the water. I was
Yeah.
shocked to see that they were put there. So my first question would be, what is the plan for this parking?
Well, the plan is for the body shop and BMW, since AutoNation owns the body shop, they're gonna use that as some more parking and some storage of vehicles, basically mixed use between the two properties, I would say. And then, like you are all talking about, the circulation between the dead end and then into that new cul-de-sac that's being put in, that's in some additional parking as well.
Because I guess where I'm going with this is when you drive down that little alleyway between the detention and the existing BMW, which takes you behind the Body Works now, there's a fairly poor example of a fence there, and it's hiding some wretched-looking things. And so I'm curious, to get circulation, you're going to either have to take the fence down, or you're going to have to move the fence. Are you thinking of fencing these new spots in?
No,
And
that's
then
never.
storing wrecked cars there like we see in the back?
I don't believe so. That fence is being called to be removed because it's where the new pavement's going to be going. Just from my previous knowledge of being on the site a couple times, it kind of just dead ends into the pavement there. But no, there's no intent to fence off the new parking lot.
So I'd like to make sure that when this proceeds forward, because if that were fenced in and then we're going to have tires and junk there, it sort of defeats the purpose of landscaping the detention area and making it look nice. It's one thing to have it behind in an alley, but to bring it out front like that, that's a fairly nice M District street with other businesses along there. I'd like to just make sure that we don't have that occur.
Mr. Chair, the village doesn't allow outdoor storage. So basically, the storage that exists behind the building is permitted because it's grandfathered in. This is a parking lot in our mind. So in code enforcement, if there are wrecked cars there, then we have a full enforceability to make them remove those. It should be operating as a parking lot at all time, which implies operable licensed cars. Now, they are a dealership, so, they're always moving cars around from here to there. So I would emphasize that any cars that are placed there are still operable in some means and are moving, because if you let them sit for too long, it becomes a storage facility. So, and because it is open, it's fully visible, which means code enforcement has full realm to make sure that it always looks good.
Okay. On the building currently, on the west end of the building, right where the proposed lot is, there's a large blue pipe running the length of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Does that pipe leave once construction is complete?
Yes,
So that'll be gone from view and we'll have a little better look than that does now?
correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about when this project would occur? So the detention looks like it's got everything except, I haven't seen any grass mats put down or anything yet, but I would think your property's pretty much ready to go.
Yes, their intent is to move their trailer so that they can demo what is the old Baker Square, I believe it was.
Yep.
So that they can start the work over there. But yeah, this is going to be concurrent with the overall lot that's going to be starting to move once the,
And I would assume that whole alleyway's gotta have to be replaced and at the same time, because it's pretty much, it's collapsing now with all the
Right.
heavy vehicles and stuff.
Exactly.
Construction equipment, and then, so you touched on fence removal to repair the lot in that back area. Is that fence going to be replaced, or do you know what the plans call for that part of it? So there's I guess it's the junction of the new lot, the old fence and the alley. That's the part I'm sort of curious.
In the alley, like directly south of the existing building. Our plans don't call for a proposed fence there. Ours just call to remove the one that's there, but
Okay.
I believe what you're getting at is you'd like to have another fence that blocks off that back part.
If you're gonna have stuff out there, and a nice fence, this fence is it's served its purpose.
Yeah.
It's paid its
It's seen
dues.
better days.
It has, yes. Okay. All right, those are my questions. Thank you for, your, answers. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I have one more.
Yes, sir?
That is that, in light of those trees being on the water, there's also, the discharge pipe, which I would assume is the downspout pipe, will have a tailwater effect if you put it so deep. It's pretty close to normal water, so when the pond fills up, that pipe from the building, from the roof can't drain. I'd recommend that you move that up the slope a little bit so you don't really get that blockage of that pipe, during small storm events. Only on the major storm events you would have that. So I'd make that recommendation too.
Sure.
All righty. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I will go ahead and close the open hearing. And anything final from staff?
No, Mr. Chair.
All righty. I will then entertain a motion for Planning and Zoning, item 18-006, Camred LLC, regarding the property at 433 Plaza Drive for a site and landscaping plan approval to allow for a parking lot expansion in the M Manufacturing District.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sharp, second by Commissioner Carmichael. Comments or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartel?
Yes.
Commissioner Lavoy?
Yes.
Commissioner Carmichael?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharp?
Yes.
And Chairman Pill.
Yes. So you have our unanimous recommendation that will be forwarded on along with our comments in the minutes and the video portion of this to the village board. And Joe will coordinate with you when you will appear. That'll be on a Thursday night sometime in the next few weeks or no more than a month. And you'll go through a very similar process, and that will be the final vote then.
Okay.
Any questions?
That's it.
Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you, everyone.
All righty, continuing on, we have no other new business tonight. Any announcements or items?
Just that the next meeting would be on June 13th. As of right now, we have 4 cases for the hearing. And then in your packets this week, I did put some calendars in there. For those of you that haven't given back to me yet, we're just trying to look at if there's availability, if any special meetings need to be called, because we do anticipate it's going to be a busy summer. So if you have vacations or days that you aren't available, if you can get me that information, that way we can figure out, without sending an email or calling you on a regular basis to try to figure it out. It just helps us through. So.
Great. Well, we look forward to a busy summer. There's some big projects coming to Westmont, and it's exciting things. I would like to just let our public know that as the weather has now turned to summer, we have our summer slate of events starting, and the first big one that kicks off is Friday, Saturday, Sunday of May 25th, 6th, and 7th, the Red, White, and Barbecue up at Ty Warner Park. And for all those who are interested in walking, running, or supporting the People's Resource Center, on Sunday, May 27th, we have our Race to the Flag. And we have a record number, at least up to this date, of runners and walkers signed up for that. And all the money is donated to the People's Resource Center, which is our co-partner in that event. And this is our 9th year, and we will have a great friend of Westmont out there as our celebrity starter, Judy Sue from ABC7. Will be out there with us to start that race that morning and kick it off. So if you're interested, racetotheflag.org is the website, and you can sign up. Otherwise, Red, White, and Barbecue, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Ty Warner Park on Memorial Weekend. Anything else? Great. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Bartel, second by Commissioner Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned.